In the northeastern corner of Ukraine, along the banks of the Oskil River, a new and alarming military crisis is rapidly unfolding for the Ukrainian armed force. The city of Kupiansk and its surrounding district, which were heroically liberated from Russian occupation during the stunning Kharkiv counteroffensive of autumn 2022, are once again under severe and imminent threat. The Russian military has amassed a significant concentration of force in this sector and has launched a powerful multi-pronged offensive with a clear and declared objective of recapturing the entire area east of the Oskil River. This offensive represents a major strategic effort by Moscow to regain lost territory, secure a key logistical hub, and put immense pressure on Ukrainian defense in the Kharkiv region, potentially forcing Kyiv to divert precious reserves from other critical fronts, such as the embattled Pokrovsk direction. The fighting here has escalated dramatically in recent days, transforming the forests and fields around Kupiansk into a landscape of brutal, close-quarter combat where the strategic initiative appears to be shifting decisively in Russia's favor. The Russian offensive in the Kupiansk direction is being driven by a formidable concentration of manpower and armor. According to Ukrainian military intelligence and Western defense officials, Russia has deployed elements of its First Guards tank army to this axis. This formation, though it suffered heavy losses in the initial phases of the invasion, has been reconstituted and reinforced and represents one of the Russian army's premier offensive units. Intelligence estimates suggest that a force numbering in the tens of thousands of troops, supported by hundreds of tanks, armored fighting vehicles, and a massive advantage in artillery, has been committed to this operation. The Russian command has made its intention clear to push Ukrainian force back across the Oskil River, re-establishing a defensive line along this significant water obstacle, and secure the city of Kupiansk-Vuzlovi, a critical railway junction located on the eastern bank that is vital for supplying Russian forces throughout the northern Donbass. The Russian attack is proceeding along several main axes. From the north, Russian forces are pushing south from the area around Liman Pershi, attempting to advance down the eastern bank of the Oskil. Simultaneously, a powerful push is coming from the east, with Russian troops attacking Ukrainian positions in the forest and fields surrounding the heavily contested village of Sinkavka. This small settlement has become a focal point of the battle, a veritable fortress village that Ukrainian defenders have grimly held onto for months against repeated assault. However, the sheer weight of the current Russian attack is beginning to tell. Russian forces, employing their now familiar tactics of overwhelming artillery fire followed by infantry and armored assault, have reportedly managed to bypass some of the forward Ukrainian defensive positions and have reached the immediate outskirts of Kupiansk itself. The situation is extremely fluid and dangerous, with reports of Russian reconnaissance and sabotage groups attempting to infiltrate Ukrainian lines and even cross the river into the western part of the city. For the Ukrainian brigades tasked with defending Kupiansk, the situation mirrors the desperate struggle seen elsewhere on the Eastern Front, but with its own unique set of challenges. As in the Pokrovsk sector, the defenders are facing a crippling disadvantage in artillery ammunition. They are unable to effectively counter the relentless Russian bombardment that are systematically destroying their fortifications and suppressing their movement. This shell hunger is exacerbated by Russia's complete air superiority in this sector. Russian jets are operating with near impunity, launching a continuous stream of devastating guided aerial bombs, FABs, onto Ukrainian positions. These bombs have turned the landscape into a cratered moonscape and are a primary cause of Ukrainian casualties and the destruction of defensive strongpoints. Ukrainian soldiers have described the experience as being under constant, inescapable fire, a psychologically shattering environment that makes holding ground almost impossible. The defenders of Kupiansk are also facing an enemy that is deploying new and troubling electronic warfare capabilities with increasing effectiveness. Russian EW systems are actively jamming Ukrainian communications, disrupting command and control and isolating units on the battlefield. More critically, they are targeting the frequency used by Ukrainian reconnaissance and FPV drones. These has created dead zone where Ukrainian drones operators who have come to rely on their eyes in the sky for situational awareness and for striking Russian targets are finding their drones either losing signal and crashing or being electronically hijacked. This degradation of Ukraine's drone advantage is a significant blow, as it was one of the key asymmetric tools that allow them to counter Russia's numerical superiority in armor and artillery. The fight for control of the electromagnetic spectrum has become as critical as the fight for control of the physical terrain. The deteriorating military situation has triggered a severe humanitarian crisis in the Kupiansk district. The local Ukrainian authorities have ordered mandatory evacuations of civilians from the city of Kupiansk and dozens of surrounding villages and settlements on the eastern bank of the Oskol River, as well as from areas on the western bank that are now within range of Russian artillery. The process is chaotic and fraught with danger. Police officers, soldiers, and volunteers are moving through neighborhoods, going door to door, urging the remaining residents to leave immediately. The roads leading west away from the front line are clogged with convoys of civilian vehicles, many of them old and laden with whatever possessions families could hastily grab. The sound of ongoing and incoming artillery fires forms a constant, terrifying backdrops to this exodus. Many of the evacuees are elderly or infirm, people who had remained in their home throughout the previous occupation and liberation, hoping they would not have to flee again. The scenes are heartbreaking, a grim echo of the mass displacement seen at the beginning of the full-scale invasion. The city of Kupiansk, which had begun a slow and tentative process of recovery, is once again being emptied, its street becoming silent and its building bracing for the renewed violence of urban combat. The strategic implications of a potential fall of Kupiansk are grave for Ukraine. Militarily, the loss of the city and the eastern bank of the Oskol would give Russia a secure and highly defensible line from which to launch further offensive operations. It would solidify their control over the northeastern Luhansk Oblast and would directly threaten the rear of Ukrainian forces fighting further south in the Donbas. More immediately, a Russian advance on Kupiansk put significant pressure on the regional capital, Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. If Russian forces can secure Kupiansk, they can use it as a springboard to push further west, potentially bringing Kharkiv back into the range of their frontline artillery. A nightmare scenario for a city that has already endured immense suffering. This threat forces the Ukrainian General Staff into an impossible dilemma. They must decide whether to risk sending their already overstretched strategic reserve to Kupiansk to try and halt the Russian advance there. However, doing so would mean pulling these vital units away from other critical sectors, most notably the defense of Pokrovsk and the Kharkiv Yar area, where Russian forces are also on the offensive. It is a strategic triage where any decision carries immense risk, a classic military problem of being forced to defend against multiple powerful attacks with insufficient resources to counter them all effectively. In Washington, the escalating crisis in the Kupiansk sector is being watched with deep alarm by the Trump administration's national security team. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has presented assessments that highlight the significant buildup of Russian forces and warn of the high probability of a Ukrainian withdrawal from the eastern bank of the Oskol. From a defense perspective, Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has acknowledged the dire situation faced by Ukrainian forces. He has stated that the concentration of the Russian First Guard tank army creates a significant local superiority of forces that would be difficult for any army to withstand, particularly one that is suffering from severe ammunition shortage. He noted that while the United States is working to accelerate aid, the logistical pipeline has a significant lead time, and the support might not arrive in time to affect the outcome of the current battle. The situation has also created friction within the U.S. administration. There are reports of tense discussion between the Department of State, led by Secretary Marco Rubio, and the Department of Homeland Security, led by Secretary Kristi Noem. Secretary Noem, whose department is responsible for managing border security and immigration, has reportedly expressed concerns that a major Ukrainian military collapse in the Kharkiv region could trigger a new and massive wave of refugees fleeing towards Central and Western Europe. Such a humanitarian crisis would inevitably create renewed pressure on the United States to provide humanitarian assistance and could have destabilizing political effects across Europe, which is already grappling with the issue of migration. Secretary Noem's concerns reflect a growing focus within the administration on the secondary and territorial consequence of the war, moving beyond the immediate military situation to consider the broader impact on regional stability and American interests. The crisis in Kupiansk serves as another brutal illustration of the perilous state of the war for Ukraine. It is a microcosm of the larger challenge facing the country, a determined and powerful enemy that has seized the strategic initiative, a crippling lack of essential military supplies, particularly artillery, ammunition, and air defense, and the constant agonizing pressure of having to respond to multiple simultaneous threats along a vast front line. The heroic defense of the city during its liberation in 2022 was a moment of immense national pride and a symbol of Ukrainian resilience. The prospect of its loss now, under the sheer weight of Russian firepower, is a bitter and demoralizing possibility. The fate of Kupiansk, much like the fate of Kharkiv, hangs precariously in the balance, and its outcome will have profound consequences for the future course of the war in northern eastern Ukraine. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to So Hey Rich, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, your first ones on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are a freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.